will be known by many of the parents of the Humboldt Broncos. Jason Neville, who is the assistant general manager and did a lot of the work behind the scenes on the education component for our players. My name has been mentioned as Kevin Geringer. I'm the president of the Humboldt Broncos Hockey Club. On behalf of the entire Broncos family, our deepest sympathies go out to the injured and the deceased, and of course all their loved ones. We are heartbroken and completely devastated by the tragedy that occurred yesterday. Our eternal gratitude goes out to the Humboldt and Nipawin fire departments and paramedics, the RCMP emergency services crews, and witnesses for their selfless acts of bravery while trying to help those in need, our Humboldt Broncos. Our organization is working closely with the City of Humboldt's Emergency Operations Center to handle the immediate needs related to this crisis. While we try and move forward as an organization and community, we will never forget April 6th, 2018. And we will never forget the members of our Broncos family who were taken from us and who were injured. And while we are stunned and grieving over this incomprehensible situation, we know that this is a moment when we must come together to support, to comfort, and to lean on one another. We will persevere, and we will honor the souls that were lost. The Humboldt Broncos family are doing everything in our power to support the victims and their families through the aftermath of this tragedy. Our immediate priority as an organization remains on meeting every need of our athletes, families, and billet families. Everything about this tragedy is unprecedented, and it's overwhelming, including the torrential outpouring of support our organization has received. We are so thankful for the City of Humboldt and its residents, and the province of Saskatchewan and its residents, and the entire country of Canada for keeping us in their thoughts, prayers, and hearts. While we are unsure what exactly the coming days will bring, we will make every effort to update our Facebook page and social media channels to keep you, our fans, and our citizens informed. Just in closing, I want to remind folks of the local crisis number, 306-320-7961. And if need be, because I know that crisis number is of course being used quite extensively, you can also come to the Uniplex where we have supports in place here, and we're very grateful for the work that our services and our organization have worked together with the city and health and everyone else to support everyone in the Humboldt Broncos family, which is all of us. Thank you. Take any questions?
We'll take questions afterwards, Kevin. Thank you, Kevin. Yeah, as a note, we will take questions at the end of the sessions after all four speakers have been up. Next, if we could have Bill Chow, President of the SJHL.
Good afternoon, everybody. I don't have a lot to say other than the worst nightmare has happened. As a league, we will support the Humboldt Broncos every way possible. The rest of the league is doing whatever we decide that we will decide to do moving forward. I know there'll be lots of questions regarding hockey and everything else after, and that's really why I'm here. So our condolences to everybody involved, our condolences to the families, our condolences to the injured.
Thank you for those words, Bill. Next, Rob Minch, Mayor of the City of Humboldt.
This is truly a dark moment for our city and our community and our province. You know, we're a small town, and we're overwhelmed with the outpouring of condolences that we've received from the province, from beyond our borders in the province, and internationally. I just got off the phone with the Prime Minister. He sent his condolences to our city, to the Broncos, to the families, and he also passed along condolences from a number of world leaders that have phoned him as well, including the President of the United States. This tragedy has hit a number of people, not just us, but I think everybody can relate to this experience. You know, throughout Canada, we see teams going out into the Canadian winters on buses all the time, and you know, it's always a thought in parents and fans' minds about what could happen, and unfortunately has happened here in Humboldt. So there is no playbook on what to do in cases like this, and we're asking for everyone's support and consideration in the coming days and weeks and months and years that it's going to take us to get through this, but we will get through it, and we will have support from the province and the federal government, and from the city of Humboldt, and from the Bronco organization. So I'm asking everyone here to stick together, to support each other, to do what you can to anyone that you know that is hurting in this time of grief, and don't be scared to reach out. And if you are experiencing issues, that we have counselors on site here at the Uniplex, and we will have throughout the next while. So I've been reassured by the province that they will support us in this as well. So I thank them for that. Lastly, I would like to thank the citizens of Nipawin and their first responders. The first call I got yesterday was from the Mayor of Nipawin, who offered condolences and their support for Humboldt. So I think they experienced a tragedy out on that highway yesterday with their first responders that is going to be hard to erase from a lot of people's memories. So I thank them for what they've done for us and our community. So in closing, I ask you again to support each other and to come together as a community so that we can get through this together. And may God bless everybody.
Thank you, Mayor Minch. And before I go to the RCMP, I just want to follow up on our mayor's comments of crisis support. You know, we can't. I can't say enough about the workers that have been present here over the last 15 hours or something like that since we first heard the news. We've got local volunteers that are providing crisis support, as well as some staff out of Saskatchewan. And certainly here at the Uniplex here in Humboldt, we're going to keep the doors open for people to come down here and get that support as much as they want. If you're in a jurisdiction that's a little further away from Humboldt, we certainly encourage you to call the local crisis support in your area, because certainly we know that this affects a broad range of people, not only around Humboldt, but across our province and in fact internationally. So be sure to call the support lines that are most readily available to you if you do need some support. And with that, Curtis Zablocki, Assistant Commissioner, Saskatchewan RCMP.
It's with profound sadness and heavy hearts that we come together this afternoon. Our thoughts and prayers are with everyone impacted by this terrible event, family of the injured and deceased, friends, the communities of Humboldt and Nipawin, and the Humboldt Broncos organization. The hockey community has strong roots in our province, and the sudden loss of so many lives will be felt not only in Saskatchewan, but across this country. It's difficult to put into words the sorrow that one feels in a situation like this. Yesterday, at approximately 5 p.m., the Nipawin RCMP responded to a collision between the Humboldt Broncos bus and a tractor-trailer unit. Initial investigation has determined the tractor-trailer unit was traveling westbound on Highway 335 and the bus traveling northbound on Highway 35. There were 29 people on the bus at the time of the collision. 14 people died as a result of this collision. 15 others were sent to hospital with a variety of injuries. Some of the injuries are deemed to be critical in nature. The injured passengers were transported to hospitals in Saskatoon, where they are now with their families. The driver and lone occupant of the tractor-trailer unit was not injured in the collision. We continue to investigate this collision and have deployed the appropriate resources and specialized investigators, including a collision reconstructionist team. Our investigators will be looking into all aspects of this collision to determine exactly what took place. This is a very involved investigation, and due to the large amount of evidence, information, and the number of victims, this work will take some time. It's too early to comment on the cause of the collision, and we will continue to provide updates as this investigation progresses. Finally, I want to recognize the efforts of the employees of the RCMP, other emergency responders, victim services workers, medical professionals, community leaders, and community members who responded to this event and continue to provide assistance. On behalf of the Saskatchewan RCMP, I extend a heartfelt thank you.
Thank you, Assistant Commissioner. As mentioned at the outset, we will entertain any questions if there are any. If you are from the media, please raise your hand if you have a question and ask and specify who it is that you'd like to ask the question of. Yes? You'd like to ask a question of the RCMP?
Yeah, the driver of the semi-trailer tractor unit is not in custody. As part of the process of the investigation, the driver was detained initially. Our investigative processes were implemented and the driver has subsequently been released. He's also been provided with some mental health and wellness assistance.
And is this a criminal investigation still at this point?
Too early to tell at this point. When these types of things happen, there are a number of avenues that need to be considered. We look at obviously road conditions, weather conditions, mechanical conditions of vehicles, for example, as well as the condition of the drivers or the operators of the vehicles.
Is alcohol considered a factor?
Again, the conditions that I just named are under investigation. We look at that closely.
How many units responded?
Quite a few units initially. There was a tremendous response to the scene. I would estimate RCMP resources at the scene and in around the scene last evening were in excess of 50 members.
Is that unprecedented?
I would say it is in this province, yes.
Okay, we'll go to 3 rows back. You state who you're with and then your question.
My name is Carrie Tate. My questions are for both the team and the league.
Okay, for the team in the league. And who are you with, Carrie?
The Globe and Mail.
Globe and Mail.
Who's first, you want? No.
Well, either one of you can
Okay.
answer. How do you rebuild the team after this?
I think at this point, the Humboldt Broncos organization, of course, has a long history of success and is an incredible organization. At this point, our energies are simply focused on the needs of our parents and our families, and those are really questions that we need to come to grips with after we've had an opportunity to deal with the situation, of course, that's at hand.
Okay, right here, me.
As for the team, what you know what you're telling families, what are you telling Bill?
I guess can you clarify what you're asking me in terms of what we're telling billets?
How do you explain what has happened to billet families that obviously take these kids in
Yeah,
and treat them as their own?
yeah. Happen to be a billet family. We tell them the same thing. These kids and these young men who are in those homes are kids. They're part of the families of these billets. And so we do everything we can to try and reach out and share with them and support them in the same way that we're trying to support the other families. These people, these young men have had a significant impact on our homes, on our families, on our children. And so we're going to do everything we possibly can to ensure that they are supported in whatever possible way we can.
Okay, I've got a question up here.
Les Lazarus, CJWW, Saskatoon. Kevin,
Yes.
we're getting people, thanks to social media, finding out names of deceased. How close are you to contacting everybody who's been involved in this tragedy?
We were in contact immediately with all parents of the Broncos. That was intentional to inform them of the accident. We've since been in contact with them to find out what their needs are. We have parents who are not in our community and need to be in our community, and so that's what we're doing right now. Is we're in process of setting the arrangements or setting up arrangements to try and get them here and support them in whatever way we can. So that's really where our energies are focused. So we're in the process again still of doing that.
So we're nowhere near being able to list, unfortunately.
It's not something that we would do. That's something that, of course, will come out through the RCMP. I would anticipate that that information would come out. At the same time, I recognize that social media has a presence that way, and things will be shared. It will not be shared by the Humboldt Broncos. We'll wait for the proper channels to be addressed, but we'll continue to try and support those who, of course, are in need, our families and our billet families.
Had there been a Game 6, it was to have been played tomorrow night in this building.
That's right.
I understand there is going to be a ceremony of some kind or a vigil of some kind?
A vigil, yes. We want to make sure it's clear that it is a vigil that we're going to be conducting, and we'll take that time to recognize all of our young men and our coaching staff and everybody who's been involved in this tragedy.
2 rows back over here.
Sarah Miller, 107.5 Wolves FM. Not just players were affected with this. Obviously, there was coaching staff and other members on that bus. Is there anything the Broncos are doing for that?
We're trying to reach out to everyone who's been involved, and we recognize the impact that this has had. We have, as you said, we've got statisticians, we've got our emergency personnel who support the team, the trainer, coaching staff, a member of Bolt FM. And so we recognize the needs that are there, and we're prepared to support in any possible way that we can.
I have a question at the front row here.
And with those Star Phoenix, we heard, again, 14 dead, 3 in critical condition. How up to date is that number, and when can we expect to get more information about that?
I guess I would ask that be directed toward the RCMP.
Sorry, yes, we can confirm the 14 deceased. As I mentioned earlier, there are some in critical condition. Unfortunately, we're not in a position to be able to release any information out of respect for those individuals and their medical situations and privacy.
Yeah, lady in the back there.
Yes, there is. Joe?
Présentement, nous avons 14 personnes qui sont décédées et puis il y a un nombre qui ont été blessés. Alors, nous ne pouvons pas parler des blessures comme telles par respect pour les familles. Alors, on a fait notre enquête avec le monsieur en question et puis il a été relâché. Et puis, on lui donne le support qu'il a besoin pour côté mental. Mais l'enquête on continue notre enquête. Non, il n'a pas été blessé.
Okay, we've got 2 rows back here.
You talk about your reaction to the swiftness of the response from the local community, from the Nipawin community, from all of Canada, the world, the funds being raised. What has that been like for you, watching that develop in the wake of such a tragedy?
You know, I thought I read a quote by our Premier, Premier Moe, who talked about the fact that we're, in so many ways, we're a small community, and that outpouring of support is just a testament to the community-minded province that we live in and country that we live in, and for that matter, our world. And we are so grateful for everything that they've done. I can tell you that my first contact to finally understand that something tragic had happened was with the president of the Nipawin Hawks. And I'm grateful to them for being able to share information to confirm that there was an accident so that we could begin the processes that we needed to as an organization to try and in some way put pieces together that we had no idea how we were going to deal with it. But nonetheless, that outpouring, we had people attending and supporting our kids and our staff and on site, and you just can't really understand the impact until you sort of reflect on it afterwards and you realize just how amazing that community mindedness that exists in this province, and in our country. It speaks volumes, and the organization is just so grateful for everyone who has been involved in trying to support this tragedy in every way. And I mean, I'm talking about all the communities, Tisdale, Melfort. These hospitals opened up. Our emergency personnel were there. Our nurses and staff they were there to support our kids and the adults who were involved in this. And I just can't say enough. Nipawin opened up Evergreen, and they had their hospital open, and of course Saskatoon was a big part of this. Our whole province has been a major part of this, and our Premier, I had a conversation with him earlier today, and he continues to extend his support to our entire organization, to our entire community, and we're grateful for that. That is, again, speaks to what this province and what this country is all about. And I also had an opportunity to speak to our Prime Minister, and he again extended the same gratitude. And he talked about, which I thought was so important, he talked about his own family and the fact that he's got a young son who plays hockey, and he made their first road trip. And I think about that, and having been a parent who had kids in hockey, and we all are touched by this. I mean, this has stretched across our entire province, as was mentioned by our mayor, and it's stretched across our entire globe. And we've got a lot of work ahead of us to console and to work together to support each other.
Take just another couple questions if there is any more. Yes, go ahead.
I'm not sure who this is for. Again, it's Carrie Tate from the Globe and Mail. Was there a fan or family bus near the accident?
Was there a fan or family bus also on the way up to Nipawin that was near the accident?
I don't know how near, but they were.
There was a bus. I don't know how close it was to the accident.
You don't know if it witnessed?
I didn't witness.
It would not have witnessed. The Bronco bus would have gone considerably earlier than our fan bus would have gone.
From my understanding, the fan bus didn't leave Humboldt until 4:30.
Would have been on the road, but nowhere close.
That's an assumption, but yes.
Okay, is there a final question? Go ahead up front.
I guess with regards to hockey, Bill Chow, I imagine the season is suspended. At what point do you look at anything with regards to the future of your league as far as this season goes?
We haven't had any conversations as of right now. We will have conversations as to what the Humboldt Broncos want to do. We will then have some discussions with our governors of the league, and whatever decision we make, we're going to do what we think is in the best interest of everybody involved. There's going to be people that disagree with whatever we decide, and there's going to be people that agree with what we decide. And so at the end of the day, what we're going to do is what we think is right. And that's just what we're going to do. So whatever that is, it will be.
Okay, I'd like to thank everybody that was making it out. Thank the media for their coverage today. There's probably a lot of people that are watching or listening to this can't see that there's probably 200, 250 members from the public in the back of the room as well. I certainly invite all the members of the public to move back over to the larger room alongside, take in some of the grief counseling that we have available and some of the coffee and snacks that we have available there. Again, as mentioned, if you are suffering from the impacts of this type of a tragedy and you're not around Humboldt, please contact the crisis support in your area. And finally, yes, as far as the community, we are planning a community vigil for tomorrow evening on the ice surface. So we invite members of the community out to that to help with that or to participate in that. So with that, thank you and have a good afternoon.